The Vancouver Canucks defeat the Dallas Stars 5-3. Let's talk about it. The Canucks absolutely needed this win coming into Dallas after the two losses to St. Louis and Edmonton, where they really didn't show too much of a backbone to their game, and the fans really on the team's back in terms of they're just not playing well, and especially Elias Pettersson. So going into this game, there were a lot of changes to the lineup, the main one being Braden Coots being sent back down to Seattle. Now, I think this was the right thing to do because he was on the third line that really didn't have an identity. He had some good chemistry in the preseason with Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, but the two of them just weren't really being played together or deployed in the best situations. And when you have an 18-year-old who can be playing in Seattle on the top line, doing power plays, and being the captain, being just the number one best player on a team, that's the best thing to do for his development. And so Adam Foote, Patrick Allvin, and Jim Rutherford send Braden Coots down, and there's a couple more changes to the lineup. So with Coots going out, Linus Karlsson steps into that center position, but Jonathan Lecker-Mackey also comes out of the lineup, and Max Sasson gets his first opportunity of the season. And by doing so, the Canucks reunite the Abbotsford Canucks line of Archie Bains, Max Sasson, and Linus Karlsson. Now, the first line got a few changes, so Elias Pettersson stays as the number one center, but his two wingers on the left is Drew O'Connor, and on the right is Connor Garland. We saw against St. Louis that Connor Garland, Elias Pettersson, and Evander Kane was a pretty effective line, even though they didn't play too much together. And so Adam Foote actually put Elias Pettersson with those two sporadically throughout the game. But for the most part, Elias Pettersson was playing with Drew O'Connor. Now, does Drew O'Connor warrant a spot on the first line? Maybe not, but in terms of his skill set and who he is as a player, somebody who's fast, can provide some forechecking, it makes some sense from that perspective. And we're seeing now, we saw it last season actually with Connor Garland and Elias Pettersson. They have some good chemistry together. And then to start this season, they also have that chemistry going for them. So it's just about finding the right line combinations for them. And so that was the line to start the game. And it stayed pretty much throughout the entirety of the game. And so even though Pettersson played with Garland and Kane for parts of this game, for the most part, he was playing with Drew O'Connor. And I thought that line did pretty well. So then by default, the second line becomes Hedel, DeBrusk, and Besser, which they had a decent game. I think they're starting to build some more chemistry together. I thought Philip Hedel, especially with his goal, had a pretty good performance out of the three. Brock Besser had a goal on the power play as well. We're going to get into all of that, but overall at 5-on-5, that line was pretty decent. And the people who were left over on the third line, and I actually think in terms of their skill sets are a very good combination, is Evander Kane, Atu Ratu, and Kiefer Sherwood. I mean, having Sherwood and Kane on the same line just makes absolute sense, right? Two absolute wrecking balls who can score goals, and Atu Ratu really trying to find his place in the lineup in terms of what his identity is. And I think him being a defensive center alongside of those two guys who can generate offense is a very good combination. And I think those guys just need more time to gel and more ice time together. And that can be a very effective line for the Canucks moving forward. And when it comes to the defense, everything was relatively the same. You have Hughes Hronek, Marcus Pettersson with Victor Mancini, and Tyler Myers with Elias Pettersson. So in the first period, it was a very, very one-sided period, if we're being totally honest. It was back and forth for a little bit, but in terms of goal scoring and chances for, it was pretty much all Dallas. And they get things kicked off with Maverick Bourque centering the puck to Elias Pettersson, who scores his first goal of the season, but in the wrong net. This guy, he just can't catch a break. I don't know what he needs to do in terms of getting his first goal, but the start of this period, especially after that game against St. Louis, where you just want him to do something right, just have an average game. You know what I mean? Because you can't really get too much worse than the game that he had against St. Louis. And he starts this game off by scoring into his own net, which could have turned out to be a terrible omen for the Canucks. But as we know, it didn't turn out that way. But to start the period and to start the game, Pettersson scores into his own net. So we're going to jump straight to the end of the period, and the Canucks take a penalty to end the period. It's a Jake DeBrusk high sticking penalty in the offensive zone. And again, the Canucks, they're taking a high volume amount of penalties this season, which is one problem. But the other problem that I'm noticing is that they take penalties in such timely situations. The period is about to end. You're down 1-0. Just go into the end of the period. I mean, ideally you want to tie it, but if you can go into the second period, down only 1-0 to the Dallas Stars, who outplayed you in the first period, and you can go into the second period only down by one, and all you need is one goal to tie the game. But DeBrusk takes a penalty. Mikko Rantanen absolutely snipes it on Thatcher Demko to make it 2-0, and that's how the period would end. And if you've been paying attention to the Canucks this season, there was zero, absolutely zero indication that the Canucks would be bouncing back in this second period, but they end up doing just that. But it wasn't right away. It was about halfway through the period. The Canucks take another penalty, they kill it off, and it's Evander Kane just flipping the puck to center and Filipino on it. The puck is bouncing. I don't remember who the Dallas Stars defender was, but he couldn't control the puck. Filipino threw on goal on Casey DeSmith, and he scores to make it 2-1. Now, when I was watching this goal happen, of course I was happy, right? The Canucks score. They're only down by one. They can build off this and build some momentum going into potentially the third period. But it really just came out of nothing. It was just a puck dumped to the center ice, and it wasn't really a chance created. It was more like Dallas made a mistake and the Canucks capitalized. And so I want the Canucks to create and generate their own chances and then, get goals because of those chances that they create rather than the other team making a mistake. And so the Canucks then go to the power play, and that's where everything changes. This one singular power play could have scored maybe on 3 separate occasions. Connor Garland back post had a wide open net, and Miro Heiskanen gets a stick to it. I thought he missed the net. I believe John Shorthouse said that he hit the side of the net, but no, he had a wide open net. The puck was going in, and Miro Heiskanen puts his stick in the way, and he deflects it wide. This top Canucks power play unit was out there for the entirety of the power play. Of course, they end up scoring. It's Quinn Hughes driving to the center of the ice. He puts the puck on the net, and Brock Besser tips it in up over the shoulder of Casey DeSmith, just under the crossbar, and it's 2-2. I've actually always wondered why the Canucks don't play Besser on the left half wall on the power play to really utilize his shot, but nights like last night and power play goals like this just remind me that he is so good at deflecting pucks, and so having him in the slot is the number one option for him in terms of scoring on the power play. But the Canucks would not be finished in this period. Max Sasson creates absolutely something out of nothing. Tyler Myers flips the puck off the boards as he usually does, and Max Sasson down the right-hand side just gets in behind the Dallas defense. We know he has speed, and he scores low blocker on Casey DeSmith. And just like that, 3 goals back to back to back for the Vancouver Canucks and the Dallas Stars and their fan base. That arena was just stunned. But it turns out we would still not be done there. It was Connor Garland who gets the 4th goal of the period for the Vancouver Canucks, and he should have had like a hat trick at this point. He had so many opportunities. The first one on the power play, him and Elias Pettersson alongside Drew O'Connor and Evander Kane, whenever those two were rotating, were creating so many chances that Garland should have scored. You could argue that Pettersson should have scored. They should have had 3+ point nights, both of them, but it's an Elias Pettersson pressuring the player on the half walls in the corner roughly, and the puck just comes out to the center of the ice. Connor Garland picks it up. He makes a nasty move around Casey DeSmith and a defender actually, and he puts it into the back of the net. If Pettersson and Garland can really link up and build this chemistry that we know that they can, and they can generate points, that duo is going to be very, very good. We just need to find some sort of line, some sort of chemistry with Pettersson, because we tried it with Besser. We know that doesn't work. And now with Connor Garland, we're seeing that they can create chances at 5-on-5. And so those two should stick together, and those two are probably going to be the driving force of the Canucks offense for this season. And Pettersson, after having a terrible game against St. Louis, had a fantastic game here against Dallas. He just needs to keep playing like that. Keep being engaged, keep forechecking, keep making smart plays, and keep generating offense, and the points will come. So the score is 4-2 heading into the third period, and my thoughts were, okay, the Canucks have a 2-goal lead. They're going to sit back. Thatcher Demko is going to have to stand on his head, and the Canucks are just going to try to grind this out. And more likely than not, this high-powered Dallas offense is going to score 3 goals, or they're going to win in overtime. And so that's what I thought was going to happen going into the third period. But what ended up happening is the Canucks actually took the game to the Dallas Stars. If I'm being totally honest, I feel like the Canucks were dominating that third period, and they were going to close it out and win 4-2, potentially 5-2 with an empty netter. But the Canucks take a penalty, and the Dallas Stars go to the power play. And on that power play, it was Tyler Seguin making an absolutely beautiful play around the Canucks defense. He sends it across to Jason Robertson, who makes it 4-3. And now at this point, I'm getting a little bit worried, even though there's not much time left, but it's only a 1-goal lead. And so the Dallas Stars pull their goalie. It's 6-on-5. The Canucks do get the puck down the ice. I believe it was Connor Garland who sends the puck in front to Evander Kane, but Evander Kane is taken down by Miro Heiskanen, I believe it was. It was the Dallas defender. He gets taken down, and the Canucks, it almost was given a goal, but the thing is the penalty happened after the puck went across the ice and it passed Evander Kane, so I don't think that would have been given, or I don't think that should have been given as a goal, so they gave it as a penalty. So it's 5-on-4 for the Canucks. And then right as Dallas pulls the goalie, DeSmith heads to the bench. It's in the Canucks end. Quinn Hughes just looks up, has zero pressure on him, and just fires the puck perfectly into the empty net to make it 5-3. And that's how the game would end. The Canucks pick up 2 points in Dallas to start the road trip. An absolutely huge win, not only for the standings, but for their confidence. I mean, going up against an undefeated Dallas Stars team that we all know is very good, looking to make the Stanley Cup Finals this year, and getting a win like this early in the season, and everybody really playing well, was a huge win. I didn't talk about him much, but Thatcher Demko allows 3 goals, but I still think he played a pretty solid game. I don't think everybody should be expecting a performance like he had against Edmonton every single night. His job is to give his team a chance to win, and he absolutely did that. Another thing I want to point out in terms of my overall thoughts on the game, I thought Adam Foote had an absolutely great game tonight in terms of deploying his best players and deploying all of his lines in their right situations. I mean, Elias Pettersson having, just over 16 minutes a night in the game against St. Louis, now has 20 minutes in this game. Connor Garland also with 20 plus minutes. Brock Besser had 21 minutes of time on ice. Jake DeBrusk, Philip Hedl, and Evander Kane all above 17 and a half minutes. DeBrusk being almost at 19 minutes, actually. So a very good coached game by Adam Foote. And even though the fourth line, the Abbotsford line, wasn't deployed as much, when they were on the ice, they were very, very effective. So I think that line should definitely stay together. Now, what does that mean for Jonathan Lekkerimäki moving forward? I'm not too sure, but you can't take Max Sasson out of the lineup after a game like that. So maybe you play him at center and move Linus Karlsson, or at least to the wing, and then you take him out for Jonathan Lekkerimäki. That's also an option. So I don't know. I would keep that line together, at least for the time being. And the last thing I want to say or point out in terms of this team usually I would say goes as far as EP40, but so far this season, it looks like this team offensively is going to go as far as Connor Garland takes them, because he had an absolutely amazing game tonight. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't see the 3 stars. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the first star of the night. He was absolutely superb for the Vancouver Canucks. And having him and Pettersson together, maybe that's what Pettersson needs. He needs that kind of player to really drive a line alongside of him. And even though he's making a lot of money, if he can perform like this and he can get his points total back up, then you'll see maybe having him alongside of other players is kind of the best way to deploy him. But we will see moving forward. And the Canucks are back in action tonight against Chicago. I don't expect many lineup changes, if I'm being totally honest, unless somebody got banged up in this game. So I think the Canucks should go with the same lineup, the same strategy. Keep Pettersson with Garland and O'Connor to start the game. Throw in Evander Kane when you see fit. And I think the Canucks can definitely get 2 points against Chicago. So like always, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for some more as the Vancouver Canucks take on the Chicago Blackhawks tonight in what should be a very, very entertaining game. Peace.